Have you ever caught yourself thinking they know exactly what they're doing? The tears show up the moment you say no. The meltdown begins right when it's time to leave. The sudden sweetness appears just before a big request. And in a quiet corner of your mind, you wonder, are they manipulating me? If you've ever had that thought while raising a child on the spectrum, you are not alone. But before we settle on that word, we need to pause. Because what looks like manipulation is often something much more vulnerable and much more neurological. Before we begin, a gentle reminder, we are not therapists or medical professionals. We share lived experience and research-informed reflections around nervous systems and autism. Always consult qualified professionals for personalized guidance. Ready? Because this is Calm Parent Collective. Less perfect parent, more real one. The word manipulation assumes intent. Manipulation implies strategy. It assumes a child is calculating how to control you for personal gain. And yes, all children experiment with cause and effect. They notice patterns. They learn what works. That's normal development. But in many spectrum households, what feels like manipulation is actually a nervous system trying to cope. A child who suddenly escalates when you announce a transition may not be plotting control. They may be bracing for discomfort. Transitions can feel neurologically jarring for autistic children. Task switching requires executive functioning that may already be strained. When they suddenly say they're hungry, need the bathroom, or forgot something important, it can feel strategic. But often it's an attempt to delay the spike of anxiety they feel coming. It's not about power, it's about regulation. When boundaries trigger big reactions. Another moment where manipulation feels obvious is right after you set a boundary. You say no, and the emotional intensity doubles. The crying gets louder, the bargaining begins, the clinginess increases, maybe the anger does too. It can look like emotional leverage, but for many autistic children, a boundary isn't just disappointing, it's destabilizing. If their brain had already built a mental plan around a yes, then a sudden no can feel like the ground shifting beneath them. The escalation is often less about changing your mind and more about coping with that internal shift. Their nervous system spikes and their behavior follows. That doesn't mean you remove the boundary. It means you hold it without interpreting the reaction as malicious. The extra sweet before a request. Then there's the sweetness, the unexpected helpfulness, the affectionate tone right before a request. It's easy to interpret that as calculated, but children learn socially. They notice that connection increases cooperation. They experiment with warmth because warmth feels safe. That's not manipulation in a villainous sense, that's pattern recognition. And here's the key, you're still allowed to say no. You can receive the sweetness and still hold your boundary. Doing so teaches something powerful. Kindness doesn't guarantee a yes, but it always builds connection. When escalation has worked before. Let's be honest about something uncomfortable. If at some point you gave in during a meltdown because you were exhausted, overwhelmed, or needed the noise to stop, your child's brain noticed. Not because they're calculating, but because brains are wired to track relief. When escalation reduces discomfort, the brain remembers that pattern. So the next time they feel distress rising, they may escalate again, not to manipulate you, but because their nervous system learned this works. That's not a character flaw, that's reinforcement. And the solution isn't shame, it's consistency moving forward. The survival brain is loud. Autistic nervous systems are often more reactive to stress. When a situation feels overwhelming, even socially overwhelming, the body shifts into survival mode. In survival mode, the goal is not fairness or negotiation. The goal is relief. Sometimes that relief shows up as fighting the boundary. Sometimes it looks like avoidance. Sometimes it looks like clinging or sudden compliance. These responses can look strategic from the outside, but internally, They're often reflexive. When the survival brain is running the show, long-term manipulation simply isn't the goal. Immediate safety is. Why it feels personal. It hurts most when your child behaves differently with others. They hold it together at school, they cooperate with grandparents, they follow rules for teachers, and then they unravel with you. It's tempting to think, they know I'll give in, or worse, they only do this to me. But what if it's not about leverage? What if it's about safety? Children often release their biggest emotions where they feel safest. That doesn't mean you're being played. It may mean you're the person their nervous system trusts enough to fall apart around. That doesn't make it easy, but it reframes the story. Holding boundaries without power struggles. You don't have to accuse your child of manipulation to maintain authority. You can say calmly and steadily,
I know you're upset. The answer is still no.
When you stop reacting emotionally to the escalation, something shifts. You're no longer pulled into the intensity. You become the anchor. Over time, when big reactions no longer change the outcome, the need for intensity decreases. Not because you crush their spirit, but because predictability feels safer than escalation. Boundaries held calmly teach security. You're allowed to notice patterns. Let's say this clearly. Noticing behavior patterns doesn't make you a bad parent. Feeling frustrated doesn't make you cold. Wondering if something is manipulative doesn't make you unkind. What matters is how you interpret what you see. If you assume malicious intent, your response becomes defensive. If you assume nervous system distress, your response becomes grounded. That difference shapes your home environment. The long game of stability. Children who grow up with steady, predictable boundaries don't need to push as hard over time. When the answer doesn't shift with intensity, their nervous system learns that escalation isn't necessary. Consistency builds safety. Safety reduces panic. Reduced panic reduces reactive behavior. It's not instant, but it's powerful. If you've ever wondered where your child manipulates you, you're not alone. But in spectrum parenting, what looks like manipulation is often anxiety, rigidity, dysregulation, or simple developmental learning. Here at Kind Parent Collective, we believe you can hold two truths at once. Your child isn't trying to control you, and you still deserve steady boundaries. You can be compassionate and firm, understanding and consistent, gentle and unmovable. And sometimes the biggest shift isn't changing your child's behavior, it's changing how you interpret it. If this resonated, subscribe so more parents raising autistic and neurodivergent children can navigate these complex moments without shame. Because clarity creates calm, and calm changes everything. And if today was rough, you still did enough. Catch you on the next one.